Well, the weather is considerably better today than it was from my arrival in Normandy yesterday. I had a bit of a hesitant start as the bike has a small issue with starting on the switch, but more on that later. The midnight crossing from Newhaven to Dieppe docked at 5 AM and I was on the road along the coast, kind of regretting not having bought my heated jacket. But riding along these relatively well maintained quiet roads remind me so much of why I love travelling in France. It's almost perfect, apart from the rain that came and went pretty much all day yesterday. These few days meant as a shakedown ride in preparation for the late June trip to the Moto Guzzi factory on Lake Como, Italy. And you may have watched best buddies Andrew, Adrian and I as we rode across the United States a few years back. We thought it was time to have another adventure. Italy will see us through France and Switzerland, with a good few days reacquainting ourselves with the Alpine passes and exploring some of that we haven't tried before. Homework on the trip will be to compare and contrast the quality of food and wine along the way. But back to this trip to France though. I thought I should have a purpose, and shortly it's the 80th anniversary of the D-Day landings. As a young photographer for the Croydon Advertiser newspaper, I visited the 60th anniversary with a couple of veterans of the conflict. I travelled with them to pay their respects and celebrate the memory of their lost comrades. It was pretty special. I won't be able to make the 6th of June 2024, but thought the chaps wouldn't mind it if I popped over a few days early. The first stop of the day was at Fleur, the memorial for the 11th Armoured Division, who played a critical role at the beginning of this campaign to push the German army out of occupied countries in Europe. Part of the bigger 11th Army was the 23rd Hussars, and part of that group was a chap called Douglas Hemming. We first encountered him just a short way from where I live, on a mural inside the church at Berwick on the south coast of England, where he's depicted with a sailor and airman. I thought it might be nice to learn a little about this one man in all the many tens of thousands of people who lost their lives in those terrible years of war. Maybe to realise that sometimes bullies need to be stopped and peace restored. Now listen, this is in no way going to be a political commentary, but my core belief is that you do you and let me do me. Don't force yourself on me or anyone else, but enough of that. So we're going to go from here to the memorial to the 15th Scottish Division, but we're going to pass just down over there, which is the River Odon, where this first battle was fought, and have a look at the terrain, what was going on here. So we met Sergeant Hemming, who served with the 23rd Hussars, which had been formed in 1940. Before the Normandy landings, the regiment had been equipped with modern Commonwealth tank and held at Aldershot before moving to Tilbury for embarkation for France with other units from the 11th Armoured Division. Following the landings, the division formed up near Caen, supporting the 15th Scottish Division, and the tanks made their first contact with the enemy at Mondranville. The division was the spearhead to take the city of Caen in Operation Epsom from the 26th to the 30th of June as it drove towards the River Odon. It's here on the 27th of June at Tourmanville near Baron-sur-Odon that the division became heavily engaged with German tanks of Panzer Group Lehr, not far from Hill 112. It was a fierce and bloody battle, and many on both sides lost their lives, including Sergeant Hemming on the 27th. From here, the division took Caen with large losses and then moved east through Falaise and ever eastwards. From here, the top of Hill 112 You can clearly see why this point was such a strategic position, overlooking the surrounding landscape with views towards the coast and the objective, the city of Caen. When I came here with my old veterans for the 60th anniversary trip, they were incredibly moved to visit here. It's a place they had fought really hard and lost many friends. It's estimated that over 7,000 Allied troops and at least the same number, if not more, Germans died here. It's been described actually as the Verdun of the Second World War. It was absolutely decimated. Craters, the amount of artillery that they laid down on this area was absolutely incredible. Anyway, this is a Churchill tank, by the way, that our boys fought in. It's not a long ride to Bayeux, and we're going to go and visit the museum there and also go and pay our respects at the grave of Sergeant Hemming. So the weather's dried up. It was raining, now it's dry again. But we made it eventually to the cemetery here at Bayeux. And I've been to the museum, which was really interesting, and checked it out. But this is the cemetery, and this is where this journey sort of really finishes. And there are thousands of memorials to the dead of all nations across towns and villages, all across this continent and indeed the world. This one is so beautifully maintained by the Commonwealth War Graves Commission and hundreds of dedicated men and women. It's quite heartening that so many are visiting here today to pay their respects, and you can guarantee it's going to be well attended in June. After 80 years, I'm not sure how many veterans of this conflict will be here, but the inscription on Sergeant Hemming's headstone kind of sums it up really. But it's not just today, but every day in silence we remember. So I don't know how I'd feel if I had to send my son or daughter, or your son or daughter, off to war, or what happens when war comes to you. The cost, just look around here, this is one small part. Yeah, it's quite sobering. But very interesting to follow this. I didn't think it would be quite as moving as it has been, but if you're thinking about coming over here, then I highly recommend you do. If you're a motorcyclist, it's superb, apart from the rain. Fingers crossed it's going to be sunny. I think it's going to be. No more problems with the bike. Thank you for joining me.